For all these years, we have no idea what's been going on inside our own home.
Many people dream of achieving a better life, finding a good spouse, a well-paying job, and a luxurious home, but sometimes this dream can easily turn into a nightmare. After all, sometimes the bigger the home, the creepier the events that can take place, and one couple found something that sent shivers down their spines, and will probably send one down yours too. Recently married Jerome and Ashley Kennedy were excited to find a new home where they'd raise a family of their own, and after many days of searching, they thought they found the perfect place. It was a small house, but cozy and good enough for the couple. Ashley thought it wasn't the right one, but Jerome liked the place and convinced Ashley to settle down there to start their new lives, a decision which would turn out to be one of their biggest regrets. Having so many new beginnings and a fresh outlook for the future, it didn't take long for the couple to decide to fulfill their goal of having a large family in a big house, and they started taking the first step towards it. Jerome and Ashley were excited to become parents, and not long after they started to try for a baby, Ashley brought back the good news. She was pregnant. With that, their dreams turned to their child. Ashley wanted a boy while Jerome always wanted to have a little girl. Soon Jerome found his wish had come true as the doctor declared that they were gonna have a beautiful baby girl. He spent all of his spare time buying the cutest outfits and other items that their child would need, and he held on to the tiny pair of socks every day until the time he'd been waiting for finally arrived. Ashley was rushed to the hospital, and the couple soon said hello to the best gift they could ever get, a happy and healthy baby girl. Jerome couldn't stop crying that day, and the two felt as though they'd gotten everything they could ever want in life, but the calm and happy atmosphere wouldn't last. The Kennedys brought their daughter home, but Ashley wasn't ready to let their daughter sleep in another room, and so the crib was moved to the bedroom where they could keep an eye on the newborn. Of course, with such a decision, the couple didn't get much sleep at night due to their daughter's crying, but the true reason behind her tears would leave them shocked. It was a normal night when Jerome had gotten up to check on the girl when he heard a light thud from his attic. He assumed that it was just the sleepless nights getting to him and went back to sleep. Being as tired as he was, he forgot all about the strange noise until one day he heard it again. This time it was a lot clearer, and he knew it came from the attic. Startled, Jerome woke up his wife and told her about the strange sound. However, she was also quite sleep-deprived and didn't think much of it, telling him to just ignore it, and that's what Jerome did, until about an hour later when another, more eerie noise woke him up. He could hear something creaking and tapping at the same spot. Knowing that he couldn't possibly be hallucinating the sounds again and again, he woke up Ashley and turned on all the lights to look in the direction of the attic. "Hey, anyone out there?" he called. There was no sound, but the silence wasn't that of relief, but one far more intense. Ashley was worried about her husband since she hadn't heard any of the sounds, but just a minute later she heard a similar sound, though it was moving away. The couple tried pressing their ears against the wall to listen, but the sound had stopped. They then rationalized the experience by thinking that it might be the rats. After all, their neighbors were renovating their home, so there was a chance that all manner of pests were rocked from their usual places. But Jerome soon realized that the sounds definitely weren't coming from any rodents. Days had passed and the sounds continued with no explanation except the one the couple had crafted for themselves. Then one day, as Jerome was sleeping, he felt a ray of light falling on his eyes. Thinking that it was simply morning, he opened his eyes to see that a small amount of light was coming out of the attic vent. Jerome was instantly awake. After all, unless rats had somehow learned to use flashlights, there was no way that it could be caused by them. "Who is it?" Jerome yelled as the light shut off at his approach. "Show yourself, you coward." There was no response, but Jerome had had enough. That morning, he went to the local electronics store and purchased a surveillance camera. When he returned home, he informed his wife of his plan to catch whatever intruder was there and set up the camera in a small opening near the attic. While he anxiously waited for night to fall, he couldn't help but wonder what he would find. After all, rats were out of the question, so could it be a demon or a ghost? Will he have to leave his house? With all the money tied into the property and a newborn to take care of, how could he afford the move? So many questions and scenarios ran through his mind, but none prepared him for what he found the next day. The person who had been making the odd sounds in his attic was none other than his neighbor, Robert Havria. Jerome and Ashley couldn't believe it. Their neighbor was an old man of almost 70 and was known about the neighborhood for being a silent person.
Reclusive, he keeps to himself.
What was this old man doing here? The young couple didn't know, but with the only evidence being that the old man was moving about, the couple decided to wait and see exactly what was going on. However, if they thought that it was just an innocent walk, then they were wrong, as the next morning they discovered holes in the wall attached to the attic. They were small but just enough that you could peep through, and the hidden wall between Robert's house and the wall attached to their attic had been conveniently loosened. What was going on? Why did this wall need to be torn down, especially at night? And how did the old man manage to do this without making too much noise? After discussing it amongst themselves, the Kennedys realized that the activity started soon after the birth of their child, and the precise angle at which the old man had been drilling would let him stare straight into the bedroom to watch them day and night, even when they engaged in their private activities. The very thought of this made the couple sick to their stomach, but more than that, made them terrified. Robert could have done anything he wanted. He could have taped their activities or dropped heavy items in the room, which would have hurt their baby. Jerome felt violated and so realized that the reason their child had been crying so much was because of the irritation caused by the constant noise. It was high time now for some action, but a simple warning was not enough. The couple wanted to make sure the old man wouldn't be able to harm their child. They filed charges of trespassing and stalking, and due to the nature of the evidence, the police had to intervene immediately and arrested Robert based on the CCTV footage. While they questioned him, Robert denied all of the charges, stating he never went anywhere near the attic and that he was only there for his renovation work. There was no proof that he was planning on doing something to the family, so the court could only give him a light sentence, but the Kennedys could feel Robert's cold stare on them the entire time they were in court. Since the sentence, the couple considered moving out of the house for better safety, but they'd invested all their money into it and had no choice but to stay. All they could do was pray that Robert didn't take any further action against them. They also gained a lot of attention on social media and did an interview with Inside Edition, narrating the entire story. In the end, though, they were just concerned about their safety and their new lack of privacy. Jerome stated that he always looked around 10 times before changing his clothes, and Ashley became extremely protective of her child, though she was also thankful that her husband managed to capture the culprit before things went out of hand. This was not the first time something creepy like this happened to a family, and the situation itself seems to construct itself out of nowhere to creep up on people when they least expect it. The feeling of silently being observed in your most private moments will probably stay with the Kennedys for a long time, and though they may end up moving on, they will probably never regain their sense of security.